stuff happens. We are going to be going over Mage cards today, so that should be interesting. And after that we'll do some ranked play, and yeah, so that's it for today's stream. Nothing too special, but hope you guys enjoy the broadcast. So let's get started with the Mage card analysis. Okay. So to start, we have Arcane Missiles. Costs 1 mana, deals 3 damage randomly split among enemy characters. So that 3 damage can be split basically any way among all enemy characters, including the enemy hero. And yeah, pretty self-explanatory. Ice Lance. Cost 1 mana, freeze a character, or if it was already frozen, deal 4 damage instead. At first glance, it appears kind of lackluster, given that it only does damage if the target's already frozen. There are ways in Mage to kind of combo that, though, so it's not entirely useless. It's a decent card. Same thing with Arcane Missiles, it can be useful. Yeah, that's that. Mirror Image. Costs 1 mana. You summon 2 0/2 minions with Taunt. Today I actually am not slacking. I do have something to show for that. So if you look below me here, that's what it looks like. That is what your 0/2 will look like when you summon it. So, yep. That's that. It's a decent card. Not terrible, not great, given that it's a 0/2 after all. So, yeah. We have Mana Worm. Costs 1 mana, it's a 1/3 creature, and whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 attack. This is a pretty great card. I mean, to start out, it's a 1-drop 1/3. That's pretty decent as is, but the potential it has to get so much bigger than that is just outstanding. I mean, even the coin counts as a spell for this, so if, you get a really nice opener hand, like say Mana Worm plus coin, and then you use maybe, I don't know, Mirror Image, you just basically dropped a 3/3 and 2 0/2s with Taunt on turn 1. It's a pretty cool combo. There's no 1-drops I'm missing. So 2 drops. Cost 2 mana. Arcane Explosion. You deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. It in and of itself is not super useful. Reason being, most minions have more than 1 health. I guess one turret can be pretty valuable. The reason this card can gain value, though, against aggro decks is if you combo it with spell damage, like just any minion that's really cheap to play and gives spell damage, then it can, it goes up from there. So, I mean, comboing this with cheap spell damage minions is a pretty effective combo, given that you could do 2 or more damage to all enemy minions, and that's, that starts to become something to fear. Yeah? So, decent card, but you usually will need to combo it with spell damage. Next up, Frostbolt. Costs 2 mana, deal 3 damage to a character, and freeze it. Decent Mage card. This actually combos really well with Ice Lance. Because since it freezes a character, you automatically have that kind of frozen part of Ice Lance already done. So you can combo this with Ice Lance to spend 3 mana to deal 7 damage, or if you have 2 Ice Lances, 1 Frostbolt and 2 Ice Lances is now 11 damage. For just 4 mana. I mean, that's pretty great. So yeah, it's one of Mage's better spells, for certain. So yeah, Frostbolt, really good card. Next up, Sorcerer's Apprentice. It's a 2-drop 3/2, and all of your spells cost 1 less. This is a pretty good creature. Especially valuable in Mage decks, because, I mean, it's Mage, they're known for casting spells. It even can almost be played for free. If you plan to cast a lot of spells in one turn and you drop this, you know, like 3 or more spells in a turn, it just pays for itself automatically. I mean, that's... the card's got a lot of potential in that sense, so... pretty good card, yeah. Am I missing any 2-drops? No. So next up, start on 3 drops. First up, Arcane Intellect, costs 3 mana, draw 2 cards. Pretty good card. I mean... yeah. Not much else to say about that. Drawing cards is necessary in almost every deck, and this card does that, so... yeah, good card. Counterspell, costs 3 mana, it is a secret. When your opponent casts a spell, counter it. That means just negate it. That spell no longer does anything, it's just countered. Pretty good. It's run rather often in Mage decks. Yeah. It's just a good card. It can be used to stop your opponent from being able to answer your own plays, because, you know, normally answers come in the form of spells, not creatures, so... yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, it's a pretty good card. Frost Nova, costs 3 mana, freeze all enemy minions. This card can be good, I suppose. It's good at stalling. Like, if your opponent's got a lot of minions on the field and you want to kind of just stall for a turn, it's okay. I don't really like Frost Nova still, because that's really all it does. It doesn't change the state of the board or do anything like that, it just stalls. So, yeah, it has its uses, but I'm not a big fan of it. Next up, Ice Barrier. It costs 3 mana, and it is a secret. As soon as your hero is attacked, gain 8 armor. Note that this will not trigger if your opponent uses spells or hero powers or like card text to deal damage to you. It literally only triggers when you are attacked. So sometimes people can play around that. Still, it's kind of like Frost Nova. It's okay at stalling. For that reason, I'm not a huge fan, but I've seen its uses, and it can be very useful indeed, so... pretty good against aggro, you know? Gaining an additional 8 armor, might as well just say gain 8 health, so... it's kind of like Healing Touch, yeah? So, not great, not terrible, so it's got its uses. Mirror Entity, it's costs 3 mana, it's another secret. When your opponent plays a minion, summon a copy of it. This can be useful. The interesting thing about this is, even though it costs only 3 mana, you don't tend to want to play it. You don't tend to want to play it in the early game. Reason being, you're more likely to copy just some low-cost minion instead of if you play it later in the game, when it will either stop your opponent from playing his larger minions, because he's got to be worried about this secret. Or if he plays a larger minion, you get a copy of it, and that's worth it too, so... yeah, pretty good card. Just like almost all other secrets, it's got its uses. And there are 3 mana secrets I'm missing. Note that all Mage secrets cost 3 mana. So, yeah, that's a thing. Ice Block. It is another secret. When your hero takes fatal damage, prevent it and become immune this turn. It can be useful, kind of like Ice Barrier. It's good for stalling out the game sometimes, which can be useful, but I'm not a fan of that style of play. There is a Mage deck out there that combos Ice Block and Ice Barrier and other secrets, just to literally make the game take forever and make killing that Mage almost impossible. And it's pretty effective. Yeah, it's called the Freeze Mage, if anyone wants to look that up. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the card. That being said, it definitely can be very useful. So, even if I'm not a fan of it, that doesn't mean it's not good. Another 3 mana secret, Spellbender. When an enemy casts a spell on a minion, summon a 3/1 as the new target. This has its uses, but usually mages won't run this, reason being they could just run Counterspell instead, which would counter any spell the opponent plays, whereas Spellbender only works if a spell is targeted on a minion. So it doesn't even trigger if someone, you know, shoots a spell at your face. So it's just not as useful as Counterspell, so it's not really used that often. It's not a bad card, it's just there's a better one. So yeah. Last 3 mana secret, Vaporize. When a minion attacks your hero, destroy it. This can be extremely useful. Again, it's kind of like Mirror Entity. You want to play it later in the game when your opponent will have big minions out, so you can get rid of those with it. Playing it early on in the game is just going to mean you're going to get rid of little dinky cards, and it's got a lot more potential than that. This is also running that secret, the Freeze Mage I talked about. So, yeah, it's got its uses. And I personally like it. Yeah, good card. Let's see, anything else? Just the Kirin Tor Mage, costs 3 mana. It is a 4/3 creature with a battle cry. The next secret you play this turn costs 0 mana. This seems like it'd be really, really useful in a secret deck like Freeze Mage, but for whatever reason it's not run that often. I don't really see why not. 4/3 is, you know, really good stats for a 3-drop. Combined with a battle cry in a Freeze Mage, it seems like it'd be a good card to play, but it's not run in that deck, and I'm not entirely sure why. I like the card quite a bit if you're going to be making a mage deck with a lot of secrets. If you're not, then I understand why you wouldn't play it. But, yeah. Yep, pretty good card overall. In my opinion, at least. Next up, Cone of Cold. Costs 4 mana. You freeze a minion and the minions next to it. That means immediately adjacent to it on either side. And deal 1 damage to them. This is kind of like Frost Nova, except it doesn't freeze all enemy minions, just, you know, a maximum of 3. Yes, it deals 1 damage to all of them. It also costs 1 more mana. I don't know, it also just seems like a kind of stalling card, because it doesn't deal enough damage to make it really a threat to creatures on the board. So, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the card, and I don't... Yeah. I don't know. It's not run often either, so... Not a great card. I guess it's not terrible, but it's not used very often, and there's a reason for that. Next up, Fireball. Costs 4 mana, deal 6 damage. Pretty good card. You know, you're way exceeding the 1 mana per 1 damage kind of target that you want to be in for spells. Yeah, just a good mage card. Really good for throwing damage out there. You can target anything with that 6 damage, literally anything, so it's useful both as board clear against powerful creatures and as damage to try to kill your opponent if you want to use it that way too. So, really versatile, and because of that I like it, and it's just a really good mage card. Next up, Polymorph. Costs 4 mana, transform a minion into a 1/1 sheep. Yeah, not much else to say about that. It's self-explanatory. You turn a minion into a sheep. The sheep is a beast, if that makes a difference for all you hunters out there, but yep, that's it. Next up, Water Elemental. This is considered Mage's best minion. It is a 4-drop, 3/6, and its text says that you freeze any character damaged by this minion. This does mean that you can freeze enemy heroes, so you could combo Water Elemental with Ice Lances if you wanted to. Additionally, having 6 health on a 4-mana card is just crazy. It's also really nice because with this minion, if you attack something and don't kill it, it can't attack you back. So you can use it just to kind of, you know, stop things from attacking if you need to. So it's really, really versatile. You can use it to combo with things, you can use it to stop enemy minions from attacking, you can use it to actually kill enemy minions, and it's just extremely durable. So it's a really good card. Are there any... Whoop. Any 4-drops I'm missing? Yes. Ethereal Arcanist. It is a 4 mana 3/3. If you control a secret at the end of your turn, gain +2/+2. This is another card you could see theoretically being really good in a freeze mage, since they run so many secrets. And it can be very good, but I don't know. It's not run often, and my theory on that is secrets aren't guaranteed to last all that long. And yeah, if you want this card to be useful, you need to have a secret already played by the time you play this card. So, I don't know. It can become really powerful, but I guess it's not run often or in Freeze Mage just because it's so reliant on always having a secret in play. I don't know. I like it for Freeze Mage, honestly, but it's not run in it, I don't think, so... I don't know. When we go over deck reviews, I'll pull a Freeze Mage list up. You'll see it right below me, right up here, just where you saw the mirror image. So, yep. I don't know. Seems like a good card to me if you're going to run a secret deck, but what do I know? I'm not an expert deck builder. Next up, Blizzard. Costs 6 mana. Deal 2 damage to all enemy minions and freeze them. This is kind of like a better version of Frost Nova. Better is kind of a relative term, though. 2 mana, or not 2 mana, I'm sorry. 2 damage to all enemy minions for 6 mana. That's not a lot of damage, so you're probably not going to be using Blizzard as board clear. Perhaps that's why some decks favor Frost Nova over Blizzard. The freeze effect is what really, you know, sets it apart. I personally like this card more than Frost Nova, but yeah, it's not bad, it's not amazing, but it's not bad. Are there any 6-drops I'm missing? Nope. Nope, literally nothing else I'm really missing. Okay, next up, 7 mana, Flame Strike. Excuse me. It is a spell that just deals 4 damage to all enemy minions. Absolutely amazing mage card. It's, you know, it's basically a card that might as well say spend 7 mana, completely wipe the board. Because very few minions are going to survive a Flame Strike. And those that do will just be at a... They'll be so low on health that they're easy enough to deal with. You could use like a Fireball, a Frostbolt. Usually you could even just ping them with the Mage hero power. Which I'll show you guys as soon as I get done with these cards. Last 2 cards. Archmage Antonidas. This is Mage's Legendary. Costs 7 mana. He is a 5/7. So the stats don't seem amazing for the mana cost. However, his text is what really makes him amazing. Whenever you cast a spell, put a Fireball into your hand. So, I mean, let's say you're going to do that combo. You know, you do a Frostbolt, and you do 2 Ice Lances, so you deal 11 damage for 4 mana. Every single one of those spells now is replaced by a Fireball in your hand, too. So you can just shoot Fireballs off. And even the Fireballs generated by this count as spells and get replaced by more Fireballs. Literally, as long as he survives, you have an endless supply of Fireballs. That's amazing. I mean, that's basically him saying every turn he survives, deal 12 damage wherever the heck you please. That's a crazy card. An absolutely crazy card. So yeah, that's Antonidas. He's one of the best, if not the best, unique to class legendaries in the game, in my personal opinion. Last mage card, Pyroblast. Costs 10 mana, deal 10 damage. At a glance, it appears kind of worse than Fireball. You could use 2 Fireballs to deal 12 damage, and that's only 8 mana. You can use 1 Pyroblast to deal 10 damage, and it costs 10 mana. I don't know, thing is, it's really good just kind of as a finisher. By the time it's turn 10, if your opponent doesn't have 10 health or less, and you're playing Mage, you're doing something wrong. you have enough spells where if you just keep flinging them at the opponent's face while kind of playing creatures, he should easily be at 10 or lower. So, even though Pyroblast doesn't seem amazing, it's still extremely effective as a finisher. Especially because there's almost nothing your opponent can do to stop it, unless they're a freeze mage. Yeah, in which case Counterspell and Ice Block work, but most other classes, actually I take that back, no other class has a real way to stop a Pyroblast from killing them. Just, no other class does. So yeah, that's the Mage cards. Mage's hero power, real quick, is cost 2 mana, deal 1 damage. You can free target this. So, I mean, you can hit minions, you can hit your own minions, in certain cases that actually can be beneficial. You can hit the opponent in the face with it. It's just, in my opinion, it's the most versatile hero power there is. We already went over Druid's hero power, spend 2 mana, your hero gains 1 attack and 1 armor. It's basically the same thing, except you don't have to actually punch something with your face to deal 1 damage to it. So, honestly, Mage's hero power is probably my second favorite in the game, second only to Priest, but I mean, if you watch me play ranked, you'll kind of understand why. So, yeah, really good hero power. So, that's it for today's card review. We've done Mage cards, and